Hey everybody, and welcome to Truck King, coming to you today from beautiful Montana. We're out here today with GMC and two Canyons. The first one, the AT4X, and another AT4X, but the AEV edition. So we're going to get into all the differences between the two. We're going to go off-road. We're going to get them dirty, as if they aren't already. And then we're also going to talk about just how great the interiors are. We're on our way from Big Sky down to an area where we're picking through some rocks. That's really where this AT4X shines. However, coming down here just put me in mind of the fact that we were on a lot of back roads, dirt roads, and I'm really pleased that GMC brought us out to Montana because this landscape is very similar to what most buyers are going to be driving in. We don't all live in the desert, and we don't always run in the desert, but we do run on thousands and thousands of miles of dirt roads throughout the US and Canada. And the Multimatic suspension, which is really at the heart of what this truck is, works so well on that just everyday pitted, rutted, worn out, washed out, potholed out surface, because that's the key with this truck is you need to live in it Monday to Friday, not just on the weekend when you're going to go out and play in it. And before you get into, well, it's got the lockers and you can get it on 35s, that suspension basically saves your ass. You can run this thing for hours at a time and it adjusts to the road surface. A little better, a little worse, but at no time does this truck ever rattle your teeth. And that's an amazing system, the Multimatic, engineered and built in Canada, by the way. And I think it's just important to remember that, you know, a truck is a 7-day-a-week vehicle, not just for playing. And I'm thrilled that they've put this together in a way that, yeah, I can go off-road and beat the hell out of it, but I can still drive it home, and it's all in one piece, and it's comfortable, and my wife can drive it. So can't say enough about that Multimatic suspension.
Yeah, we hit some pretty varied roads this morning, right? We hit some winding mountain roads, and in a few sections it kind of flattened out into like the plains. And we were picking up some pretty good speed, right? About 50 miles per hour on that dirt road.
Yeah, in some cases up to 60 miles per hour, so 100 kilometers an hour. And I mean, as anybody knows, when you get out into the country where, you know, the speed limits are lower, but you know there's nobody on that road, yeah, you're going to run fast on these roads.
Of course.
So in our group here today, we are driving the AT4X, and we are driving the AT4X AEV edition.
It's a mouthful.
It's a lot of alphabet soup, isn't it? And the key difference being, of course, the AEV gets an additional inch lift and 35-inch tires on that truck. And it'll be interesting to notice, because we're going to drive them back to back, whether or not there is a significant difference. I mean, you know, clearance is clearance. So if you got more, that's always good. However, the AEV also comes with the rock rails and 5 separate steel boron skid plates, and my goal today is to see if I can hit all 5. So right at the moment we're stopped on this off-road trail because we've got a tree down up ahead and somebody's had to go for a chainsaw. But it's a great moment for me to talk about the drive modes that GMC has in this Canyon. So we've got an off-road mode, tow haul, that goes without saying what you want that for. But terrain is what's really interesting because this comes with one pedal drive, and the one pedal drive is a setup that I really appreciate picking through a trail like this because, of course, it comes to a complete stop when you get off the accelerator. It does what we used to have to do back in the day with 2 feet, one on the brake, one on the gas, because the whole thing with picking your way over really rough terrain is to try to be smooth. You don't want to lurch, and you don't want to have that sort of like firing ahead and then smashing onto a rock. You want everything to be nice and easy. Even if you are dragging over rocks, you prefer to do that at a constant, steady pace rather than the big smash. The big smash is what's going to leave you with lasting damage. So past that, we've also got Baja mode, which is exactly what you imagine it is. That's all about the high-speed running. So realistically, with those, what do we have, 4? Oh, and I think we also have a normal. So there's your Monday to Friday. And what we're dealing with here is a set of drive modes that will get you right from Monday to Sunday. In addition to the drive modes, we've got a lot of information. GM is doing a really good job at giving you multiple screens. But I'm starting on this one simply because this is the uncluttered screen. Straight up, you got a little bit of information around the periphery, and then you got your speed. So if you're one of those people that doesn't want to see a lot of stuff, that's your screen. Okay, so then we've got typical on-road trips. Okay, content here where you've got everything with your music running, and a little bit more complex because now we're going to add the RPMs to it as well. And then if you prefer to see your nav directly in front of you rather than over to the right, you can move that screen over here as well. Now, then we get into the off-roads. This is the first off-road page, but frankly, this is more along the lines of how many G's are you pulling. This is more the high-speed off-road page. Now, this is the we're picking through rocks page. We've got pitch and roll. We've also got a compass, in addition to which, along the bottom, we'll show you what we're in this case, 4-wheel drive low. We're also locked up front and back, so it's giving us our transfer case. And the probably the one more important one that's right up here is the temperature gauge, because that's the one that you may have an issue with, not only radiator but transmission. So again, GM's done a really good job of giving you tons of information so you can manage your off-road run. Now on the way down, we've switched into the Canyon AT4X AEV edition. Yeah, I'm certainly feeling a little bit of the additional height, and when you're picking over rocks like this, that's what you want. However, I think what's really interesting about the AEV connection to GM is that they made a deal. They brought them in-house and gave them access to their engineers because all the parts that are on this truck were designed for this truck. This is not just aftermarket generic parts that would fit your Ford or your Ram as well. So we're very fortunate that the owner of AEV is with us today. So we asked him to actually come over, do a walk around, point out the items, and tell us what's special about them. Let's do that now. Right off the bat, Dave, how long have you been running your company?
AEV's been around since 1997, so going on 26 years here, and been doing off-road accessories the entire time.
Okay, and So who approached who? Did General Motors come to you and said, we'd like to work with you on this?
Yeah, so originally it was about 2016 that GM was doing the ZR2, unbeknownst to anybody, and they approached us and said, hey, we have an off-road platform. Would you be interested in doing some parts? And at the time, if you go back 2016, 2015, GM wasn't particularly well known or expected to come out with a good off-road platform. So we were interested. We went and saw what they were doing. At the time, it was the ZR2, Bison, Colorado, or ZR2 Colorado. And they said, they said, what do you think? And we realized, okay, this is a truck with lockers, a really good suspension, all the off-road bits. And I was thinking, well, this is going to compete really well with the other mid-size competitor. And we thought, hey, this is definitely a thing for us. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, what would you do if you wanted to take it around the world? And the answer was protection. Front, rear bumpers, winch, skid plates, wheels, lights, maybe a snorkel. Like that's what we would do to finish, quote unquote, finish it for that kind of use. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay. And that's kind of where it started. And so that's how the original Bison was developed. And now this is the second generation of Bison and Canyon. We've now added the Canyon. Mm-hmm. And this time we kind of got to do everything we originally wanted to do right from the factory.
All right, well, let's take a look at what you have done on this truck. And we might as well start right up here in front with a very hard bumper.
Yeah, we start with a steel bumper. This is not only winch capable, but the winch mount is there already. So literally all you have to do is add the winch, cut out this or remove this little panel, remove the license plate, and you can bolt the winch right in there. The nice thing about this bumper is it's all been factory tested for impact, for cooling, for corrosion. In addition to meeting all the crash and corrosion, cooling requirements, we try and be really cognizant of how the customer is going to use this. And this isn't just like a supercar. I mean, this is something people are really going to use, and part of that's rubbing it on rocks, rubbing it on trees. And so we know it's going to get used, so we manufacture it in such a way that the corners are all replaceable if you were to damage one. The fender flares, this is a addition on the Bison and the Canyon. So it's a larger flare. It allows us to run a larger tire. It's a 35-inch tire. These are beadlock capable wheels. So this tire can be mounted traditionally, like it is shown here, or that tire can be mounted on the outside of this ring. So this ring becomes the inside of the bead seat with a real beadlock ring, and then it can be run as a beadlock. Now, the other nice thing is we actually have protection rings that'll fit on here too. So where you see some damage from today, if you had the sacrificial protection ring on, you would just remove the ring and replace it, or not even worry about it because it's the ring, it's not the actual wheel. Yeah. Moving on, we have full body length rocker guards. This is fully functional. So you found out today.
We certainly did. We slid over a few things.
Yeah, they work great, and they're designed to protect the truck.
Right.
Underneath, there's full skid plating.
Right,
so
five sections, right?
In this truck, there's 5 different skid plates.
Right.
They're a really unique material. They're a boron steel. Mm-hmm. And what that means is it's a certain alloy of steel. So typical steel is per square inch. If you had 1 square inch, you would need to provide about 36,000 pounds of force to permanently bend it. In the case of boron steel, it's actually a heat-treated steel. So it goes in red hot to a stamping press. It gets stamped into our skid plate, and then the dies are liquid cooled. So it's actually quenched on the die and hardened.
Okay.
So it's a hardened steel. That steel is about 6 times stronger than regular steel. So it actually takes 215,000 pounds on 1 square inch to bend that permanently.
Right.
That's like putting a jumbo jet on 1 square inch.
So if you dent it, you've worked at it.
It takes a lot. But it's a beautiful material for skid plates. It's very lightweight. They're only 2.5 millimeters thick, yet they're stronger than like a 1/4 inch steel skid plate. They don't permanently deflect, so they'll bend a little bit, but then they spring right back. And the key feature for a skid plate is they're so hard that even on like a hard granite, they don't gouge. So like aluminum skid plates will gouge,
right? And
they'll kind of slow your progress. They'll create sharp, things that can cut you. This material is like really, it's the perfect material for skids. The downside for traditional aftermarkets, it's very expensive, and the tools you can imagine are really expensive. But in this case, this is one of the situations where working with the OE and having that volume is something we couldn't do in the aftermarket, right? We couldn't use that material in the aftermarket because it's so expensive. But
right.
in this case, you know, the customer really benefits from having a material that really nobody else can use.
Yeah, and installed on the line.
Yeah.
And, you know, and in such a way. And obviously, I'm also assuming that with all these, with the collaboration, but nevertheless, GM's going to warranty all that stuff.
Yeah, it's all fully warranted.
Exactly.
Yep.
So moving back, we've got the 35, and apparently that rim we didn't wreck, so that's a good thing.
Yep, 35-inch tire. The tires don't fit underneath.
Yep.
So we moved the tire up to the bed.
Yeah, I saw that.
That will work with all the aftermarket, like toppers or caps, or depending
Yep.
on where in the country you're from, what you call them. It's also quickly removable. About 10 seconds and the tire comes out.
Right.
The rear bumper is pretty unique. It's got these heavy-duty nodular iron tow hooks.
Right.
So it's designed for a shackle. This piece here is cool. This is a plastic cap, and it's designed so you can remove this when you go off-roading. You throw them in the glove box, and then there's a piece of 3/8 steel underneath here. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the most damage-prone parts of a truck.
Yeah, the departure point, like the very last thing as you're coming off something, bang, right?
Yep. Or if you don't get up something and you come back, and you jam this into the ground.
Right.
This is an incredibly strong piece. And in fact, this is about 5/8 thick when you count the bumper of solid steel right in this back corner where it's needed. And so you can wheel it, you can abuse it, you can scrape them up, and then when you're done, you just take this plastic cap and pop it back on. And there's, you know, no wear shown, you know, during the week while you're driving to and from work.
Well, one of the other things I noticed too is that the sensors are still here. So you don't lose your sensors because you've gone to, you know, in effect, an aftermarket bumper.
All the sensors, side blind zone sensors, parking sensors.
They're all incorporated into the design.
It's all incorporated.
Absolutely.
Yep. And in addition, all the crash testing. So I think there was 11 different crash tests we have to do with this car.
Yep.
And pass all of them. And that's something, and the cooling test, that's a big requirement, especially on the turbo cars. The cooling is a major issue. So it's something, the aftermarket, you know, you wouldn't know the baseline measurements as an aftermarket company just to do. So the integration and the collaboration between the two companies really adds up for a great product with the customer.
Yeah, I think you guys are just ahead of the curve because I'm telling you, if I'm Ford or if I'm Ram, I'd be looking for partners now too for exactly that reason. Okay, because it's specifically designed to my vehicle, you know, and that's better for my customer. So all in all, that sounds good. But I got to point out to the camera too, I mean, I was really impressed with these you know, what do you want to call them, hooks, recovery points, because we had a chance to see this in action today, and we'll show you that now. The luxury interiors are more often found in more expensive LD and HT trucks. However, GMC wanted to really make a statement with the Canyon. In fact, they're constantly comparing their midsize off-roader to Toyota's Tacoma. So obviously they want to take them on, both in the off-road prowess and in the interior decor and tech. Well, as far as off-road is concerned, they're right there. Now, as far as interior is concerned, Canyon AT4X is striking. We're talking about an interior with red, white, black colors. A bold choice, to say the least. Called Obsidian Rush Interior, it even comes with optional red seatbelts. You've got logoed headrests and floor liners, and there's soft touch materials everywhere, as well as technology and screens that are second to none. Spending a day in this truck, I couldn't stop looking at it and reminding myself that a designer thought that putting white in an off-road truck was a good idea. But quite frankly, if they were trying to get my attention, they did it. So now I'm going to ask you, you've seen it, What do you think of that white and black and red accents? If anything, they really, really decided to take a chance this time around, and for that I give them props. Well, folks, you know what? That's just about it for this one. We've had quite a day on-road and off-road. And right at the moment, we're heading down to our hotel, and I'm running at 90 miles an hour, about 145 kilometers. This truck really does it all, Liam.
Yeah, it really does. Like you said, there's no compromise, right? Like, that's the big thing.
And that's what our big takeaway is from this, is that you want the off-roader, you got it. You want the Monday to Friday truck that's going to do everything, you got that as well. So that's it for this one, folks. But listen, go down below. Let me hear what you think of the new Canyon AT4X AEV. And then come back soon to see what we're doing here at Truck King. But before you go, hit like, hit subscribe, and remember, join our channel, and we'll see you real soon down the road.
See ya.